What is going on, pro wrestling fans? Welcome back to Squared Circle Speak. Whether you're a true wrestling fan, a fake fan, a new fan, an old fan, any kind of fan of professional wrestling, welcome. Yeah. Welcome on in. I am Ryan. With me, as always, is my co host, my brother, lifelong professional wrestling fan, the great Muda, Nathan.
Oh, I'm about to spit some mist on this one, let me tell you.
What the fuck? That's right. We are two lifelong professional wrestling fans, and welcome back. We finally have a special thing for you guys. No more pay-per-view reviews or previews for a while. We're bringing back the Wrestler Spotlight or Showcase, and we've been saying we wanted to do a tag team for a while. We've been wanting to do a tag team, and I figure what better tag team to do than the Bushwhackers.
uh, I could name about 100 better tag teams, but let's do this.
So, if you're a newer fan, you may not know the Bushwhackers. They were not known as uh, they were very popular in the WWF, but they were not. They never won championships, and they never really got over. Or I mean, they were over, but they never really won a whole lot. So you may not be familiar with the Bushwhackers, but for their time in the World Wrestling Federation, they were one of the most popular tag teams. Uh, even though they never won a whole lot. But their career goes way back as they began wrestling in 1966 as a team.
Wow.
They
How, as a team.
So yeah, they both started. They kind of started at different times. Luke started in 1962, and then Butch started in 1964. But they really didn't do a whole lot until they got together in 1966 as the Kiwis was their first tag team name. They got started in NWA New Zealand, other known as All Star Pro Wrestling. They would then go on to work all over Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, and also go on into North America to work in Quebec for a while. They worked in Stampede, um, for a while as well. This is where they won their first kind of recorded title reign as they won the Stampede International Tag Team Championships on January 6th, 1974.
All right.
So they did win championships, just not in the WWE. They also, during this time in the early mid 70s, they were working for IWE, which is International Wrestling Enterprise in Japan, while also going back to New Zealand and America and all over the world at this point. They were traveling a whole lot back in the early 70s. They became the New England Sheepherders in 1978. They kind of left from 1976, 1978. They didn't wrestle. I think they both maybe got burned out, I would say, from all the travel. And so they didn't wrestle. They made a return in 1978 in All Japan Pro Wrestling, and then worked in the Pacific Northwest up there in Oregon and Seattle, where they were then known as the New Zealand Sheepherders. 1980. They ended up going to Crockett in the NWA, where they won the Mid Atlantic Tag Team Championships from Buzz Sawyer and Matt Bourne. So there you go. They won another title. They would also compete for World Wrestling World Wrestling Council in down in Puerto Rico. So from the 60s to the 70s, they had wrestled in Japan, America, Canada, Singapore, and down in Puerto Rico. So really made the rounds there for those 20 years there or 15 years. Then we had a little bit of a breakup here after they left the World Wrestling Council. Miller, who is Butch, decided to return to Australia and New Zealand to wrestle, while Luke remained in the United States and became the new Sheepherders with Jonathan Boyd.
Huh.
This is when they got the reputation of being hard hitting and violent. Uh, uh, so yeah, so they did break up for a while. This new Sheepherders won the NWA Southeast Tag Team Championship. We're not going to go too deep with the new Sheepherders because it's not the team we're talking about. Um, they would have other people join in, but then the originals would return, and the UWF, Bill Watts' UWF, and they would immediately win the UWF Tag Team Championships in 1986. So this is when they went on their big role as just the Sheepherders, where they were wrestling for WWC, UWF, NWA Florida, CWA, AWA. Like they were all over the American scene, also over in New Japan, which I think this is when the WWE got caught wind of them in the late 80s because they were also in Florida at NWA and they wrestled at Clash of the Champions. So then I think this is when Vince was finally like, hey, look at this team. They would
Yeah.
end up winning the NWA United States Tag Team Championships, or they would lose them. They were about to look like win the titles as they were having a tournament to crown new champions. They would end up signing with WWF and leave the NWA.
All right.
So then WWF would bring them in as the Bushwhackers.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are either one of them actually a sheepherder? How'd they get stuck with his name?
You know what? I guess they heard New Zealand and they were just like, you're the Sheepherders now. I don't know. Like, I don't know exactly where the name Sheepherders comes from. I just assumed they were like, you guys are from New Zealand. You're going to be Sheepherders. Yeah. But then they became the Bushwhackers, which is probably their most known gimmick. Instantly became a jobber / comedy team. They would lick each other, fans, even their opponents. They would do the arm, which if you watch wrestling in the late 80s to the mid 90s, you know the Bushwhacker arm dance, walk, whatever you want to call it. Arms above your head. And I'm doing it right now. You can't see, but I'm doing it right now. So they were a comedy team, which is crazy because they were like one of the hardest hitting like violent tag teams in like NWA and Memphis and all that, and then they go to WWF and they are just comedy.
I wonder how they felt about that.
Yeah, they're probably getting a pretty good payday. So,
well, yeah.
Their first real feud was with the Rougeau brothers. This was when they really first took their first feud. They ended up wrestling on WrestleMania 5 against the Rougeau Burgers, where they won, Nathan. So hey, they won a match at WrestleMania. I did not realize they won that match.
I didn't either.
Okay.
I feel like they won by disqualification or something.
It says they won by I don't know. It was only a 5-minute match, so it couldn't have been too much. But yeah, they did, and then after that, they really didn't do a whole lot. They lost a lot. They did get a couple tag team title opportunities, but never really really had an opportunity to win them.
Who are they against?
They did get their first opportunity was in 1991 against the Nasty Boys on a Saturday Night's Main Event.
All right.
And then they would get another title opportunity. I think was that for the titles? No, they just wrestled the Natural Disasters at SummerSlam 91, and they would lose that one. So they didn't really get too many opportunities for the tag team titles. They got a couple, but they never really. From that point on, they kind of just were used as essentially enhancement talent. They would receive another opportunity for the titles against Money Inc. In 1993, but again, were unsuccessful in becoming tag.
So, let's just think about this. You know how some of the wrestlers nowadays they're like, "Oh, I'm at my 20-year mark," or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ryan, when they got that title shot against Money Inc., they were almost at their 30-year mark.
Yeah, they started in 1966. This was 1993.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
Talk about longevity.
Yeah.
The other thing that they're one of them anyway was most known for was Ryan. He was which one was it? Was it Luke or Bush? They were eliminated from the Royal Rumble in record fashion, and then that record held until Santino came.
Yeah, the Royal Rumble, I think it was, I want to say it was Butch. I want to say it was Butch, but I'm not 100% sure on uh which one. But yeah, he came in doing his dance. He walked into the ring and immediately just walked right over to the top rope, and like just completely one of the greatest Wrestle for Royal Rumble moments ever. Like it was so dumb. Yeah, it was so dumb. But yeah, he came in doing the thing, and I don't know who was it, Earthquake or who was it that eliminated him?
I don't remember, but yeah, he didn't last very long.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
yeah,
that record held for a long time.
yeah, it was like what 3 seconds or something, and it was eventually broken by Santino in 1 second. So they were under contract with the WWF until 1996. Um,
That
so
is their 30-year mark.
yeah, they came back in 1996, but this time they were more Australian than New Zealand. They actually had a giant kangaroo mascot, which I have never seen before.
I don't remember that at all.
What? I gotta look. Can I find it? Is there like a? Oh my god! I will post this picture when I do when this video comes out. But Jesus Christ, it's like a fucking thing at like Disney World. Like that's insane. But then they would not last too long in 1996 because this was when they were going through you know, they were going through the transitional period here in 1996. And the Bushwhackers being 30 years in the business, I don't think we're going to last too long in WWF in 1996.
Sure.
So they would return to the independent scene, not doing too lot, but they did make a couple of notable appearances in ECW under the names Luke and Butch Dudley. They were billed as cousins of the Dudley Boys. Yeah. They were also on Heroes of Wrestling, which is if you're a fan of wrestling on the internet, it's one of the worst pay-per-views of all time. In 1999. And then their last appearance in the WWF before they were inducted in the Hall of Fame would have been at WrestleMania 17 in the Gimmick Battle Royal. Their last match was actually September 8th, 2001 in Farmville, Virginia, losing to a team of Carnage and Mr. Big Stuff. Yeah. So in February in 2015 they were inducted to the Hall of Fame. I the only reason I remember the Bushwhackers, and I remember them for something that has nothing to do with their WWF career. It has nothing to do with what they did in wrestling. I remember the Bushwhackers were on an episode of Family Matters where they wrestled Carl Winslow and Steve Urkel.
Oh my god.
I don't know why, but when I think of the Bushwhackers, I immediately think of Carl Winslow and Steve Urkel in the mask wrestling the fucking Bushwhackers.
Oh my goodness.
So they actually have a lot of championship wins, which is nuts. So we'll go through the title history here of all the titles they won. So, like I said, the first title they won were the Stampede International Tag Team Championships. They held those titles for 237 days. They also won the NWA Pacific Northwest Tag Team Championships 4 times. They won the NWA Vancouver Canadian Tag Team Championships, the NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Championships once, the SWCW World Tag Team Championships. That is Southwest Championship Wrestling. Never heard of that. They
Yeah.
were UWF Tag Team Champions, the WWC Tag Team Champions, NWA Florida United States Tag Team Champions, CWA International Tag Team Champions, and the APWF Tag Team Champions. APWF is Allied Powers Wrestling Federation. This reigned in 2000 or 1999. They held it for just one day. What? What is that company?
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
Allied Powers Wrestling Federation was in Pennsylvania, Indy.
Really?
It's apparently still going.
No way.
It like died for a while and apparently it's back. But yeah, that's the Bushwhackers. I mean, look, they're not known as the best in-ring workers. They're not known as, you know, the best team ever, but they had a fun gimmick and they're memorable in their own way. Whether it be if you're a WWF fan, you remember them for being the Bushwhackers. If you're not a WWE fan, you remember them for being the Sheepherders, who were crazy, like hardcore wrestling. But you know, they were kid friendly. Everyone loved the Bushwhackers. You couldn't really, you know, they were everywhere. They were on like almost every show. Like, I mean, if you
Overall, you know, they made their mark in wrestling, and that's all you can say is they made their mark. I'm sure they weren't when they first came to WWE. They probably weren't too happy about being a comedy gimmick, but you know what? They made the most of it. Like you said, they became pretty popular, and that's what you do. You find your mark in wrestling, and you just you make that your mark. It may not be what you originally set out to do in wrestling, but as long as you make your mark, you get in the Hall of Fame eventually, and that's what they did. So anyway, that's the Bushwhackers / Sheepherders there for you guys. If you like this episode of Wrestler Showcase, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're always notified when we upload another episode of Wrestler Showcase, and we'll see you on the next one when we're gonna do WCW Cruiserweight title history.
Ooh, it's gonna be a fun one. We're just gonna run through all the WCW titles, I think. So, so yeah, stay tuned for that one tomorrow. We'll see you then. Thank you for watching and liking, commenting, all that fun stuff. And we will see you for the WCW Cruiserweight title history tomorrow.